Okay, so I'm James from altinsider.com. Rachel is from a lot of awesome things. We're going to put a webinar today about classroom environments. Now, this is something for me that I didn't even really think about it until I saw Rachel's post on Japan Teaching Resources. I think that's what it's called. That Facebook group is really good. And if you don't know about it, you should check it out. But I saw her post on there and I said, hey, this is some stuff I never thought about. I want to talk to her and figure out what classroom environments actually are. So that's what made me think about making this webinar. And she knows a lot more than me about this. So she's going to be telling you a lot of cool stuff. I did some research to try to catch up a little bit, but we'll see. Rachel, do you want to add anything before we get going?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay, let's get right into the presentation. Now, the beautiful cover page is here. Everyone said, hey, I think they wanted to say, hey, nice to see everybody once again. June 28th, I didn't mess up on that date here. We are good. Also, want to announce the sale of the junior high school survival kits on altinsider.com. Things are going good. People that have used them are saying it's really good. I wish I had the pictures. Some guy said he was going to send it, but he didn't send it. You're still cool, man. Thanks a lot. But next time, send a picture so I could have showed it here. But thanks for that. I don't know why I said thanks there, but let's go. Today's presenters, as you already know, are myself on the left. I was an 8-year ALT. I'm no longer ALT, actually. I am now the altinsider.com guy and a freelance translator, proofreader, doing everything I got to do. Rachel was an elementary school teacher in Florida, correct? Is that correct information?
Yes, it is.
How long did you do that?
I taught kindergarten for 1 year, and then I had a second grade classroom for 2.
Oh, okay.
And now I'm in Japan.
So I want to get more into that. So what made you, well, we'll get into that during your interview section, if you don't mind. Okay. Now you are a senior high school teacher, if that's correct. Is that the only school you go to, or?
I teach at 2 senior high schools, and I also go to a special needs school once a month, and I see elementary, junior high, and high school.
Okay, so you get the full gamut.
Yeah.
I'd actually have only taught a high school one time, and it was a different world for me than junior high school even, but that's cool. If you know the stuff, you know the stuff. And what she's going to show you today can definitely be done at junior high school. I think it really is going to work out.
It can be used in any classroom.
Exactly. That's why I think it's really valuable for people that want to make their classroom environment even better than it is, or if it's crappy, just make it even average. I mean, that's important. So
it can only go up.
Yeah. Okay. So today's schedule looks something like this. First, I'm going to go over what is a classroom environment. Actually, Rachel is going to go over that. And Rachel's going to show us her classroom setup, which is truly epic and definitely worth checking out. And we're going to go over some steps that you can go to improve your own classroom setups. If you have that bad situation we talked about earlier, there are some steps you can do to make it a little bit better. Then we're going to get into one game that you can use tomorrow from the junior high school survival kit that just go ahead and use it tomorrow. It's really fun. And at the end, we will have question and answers until there is no more questions from anybody here. So let's go. So the first question I said I was going to get into, what is a classroom environment anyways? You, myself, Ladybug in the corner. Now, before we get going, I want to say this is a very simple rundown of what a classroom environment is. Like, Rachel, you went to school for how long on this subject about?
4 years, undergrad.
Yeah, so
5 years maybe.
Obviously, you can study this for, I hope you didn't hear that. Obviously, you can hear this for a long time. I mean, you can study this for a long time. So this is a very simple, at the most, an hour-long rundown of what it is and how it's going to help you be better at ALT. And if you want to know more information, you can Google it and you can find a lot of stuff. Because I was looking to research about this thing, and there's like pages and pages, and there's whole reports written on the subject. So if you want more information, you can definitely get it. So the official definition of a classroom environment, Rachel, take it away.
The classroom environment is a combination of social and physical qualities that create the classroom experience.
Okay.
This includes classroom management and also organization of space.
Sweet. So let's get that in a little more human of a definition, if you could.
Sure. So when you walk into a classroom, you want to feel like it's positive, like it's warm and inviting. That's the physical quality. It should be well lit. It should also be organized. The social environment should feel safe. You should feel like everyone's there to learn, everyone's there to have fun, and we're all part of a community.
Okay, I like that. I like that. So what I would take from that as a less learned teacher, as I didn't go to school for teaching, but I would take it as, well, you say a little bit farther what I think it should, what this means really. But what she's saying is basically everyone feels safe, everyone has fun, everyone wants to be a part of it, and it's kind of all the things you need to be comfortable in the classroom. I think is like the simplest way I can think of put it. Is that okay to say? I think
Absolutely, absolutely.
so. Digging deeper. Oh, digging. I clicked off the thing. Digging deeper into the owl's forehead. Now, if you're just an ALT, you might be thinking, hey, that's not really that fun, right? Why should I care about all this mumbo jumbo stuff? All this mumbo jumbo about classroom environments in the first place. Now, I used to be one of you. I changed though, but I used to be one of you. But no, I should have went to this side before I said that. But I agree with you, right? If you just think about it, studying that for 4 years sounds to me like torture. But I know Rachel's a better teacher because of what she went through. And if you can just learn a little bit about it, I know the classes can be better, and which make it more fun for you and your days all the more enjoyable in Japan. So, because, I guess I should have said that because better. Because, butterfly, if everyone in your class is having fun learning, then you definitely have a great classroom environment. If everyone is having fun learning is the key word. Just everyone having fun does not mean it's a good classroom environment, because I've had some classes that have fun just punching each other. That's not a good classroom environment. I've had classes that, I've had classes that have fun, playing the, what's the game? What's the, you use the, what's it called? I can't think of it now. The rulers, and you just try to knock them off the desk. That's either all class. And that's fun. I love that game too, but that's not a good classroom environment. So if you have a fun learning classroom environment, who cares about the other definition, right? Like that's, if you know it, the more you know it, the better you can utilize it, of course. But if you have a fun learning classroom, that's really the key, in my opinion, of course. So these are kind of a learning fun class has all these parts. Now I found these parts on Wikipedia, I think, but Rachel, you agree this is kind of the more scientific way to put classroom environment, correct? All the points you need?
Yeah.
So communication, for me, I'm going to say like the layman's way. Communication means that everyone kind of wants to talk. I think that's fair to say. Like everyone wants to participate in the classroom, because those classes where half the class is shy and half the class isn't going to raise their hand for nothing. Those classes are tough, and everyone has them. And teamwork means that everyone's invested in the class in some way too. Like, when there's a class that if you try to do a competitive game and there's just no point, I think that's really what teamwork is for me. Like, that's what I think. A teamwork means you want to work together to do something, kind of. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Understanding means don't be a jerk to your fellow students, I guess. I guess is fine. So the physical, I'm a little bit more confused about, Rachel. You take care of the physical aspects of a classroom environment.
Okay, before I touch the physical, I think that you can, when you look at the psychological feel of the classroom, you can group that communication, teamwork, and understanding all into an emotional investment, which would mean that they are interested in building that community.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
We care about each other, we care about ourselves, and we care about learning.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. And like, when you say those things, that almost scared me for a second. Like, oh, the students don't want to care about it. They don't want to think like that. They don't really think like it. They just feel it, kind of. Like no one says like, yeah, like I care about this guy. They never say that, but if you have a good classroom environment, you can feel it.
Right, and that's part of our job as the teachers, to kind of facilitate that environment so that they don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
They're learning, and they're not even realizing that they're learning.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So, for cooperative groups, see, so this one is kind of tough for some people, because we're going to get into later how to fix it. But for classroom environment, do you think this is mandatory or not? Cooperative groups.
I think that cooperative groups are, if not mandatory, are definitely effective.
Okay.
Because learning is social, and we have to cooperate with one another if we are going to socialize.
Okay, I can see that. So safe and stress-free is pretty much, it's pretty self-explanatory as long as people don't beat each other.
Yeah, you're not you as a teacher are not calling out someone who is obviously uncomfortable.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good point too. Yeah.
yeah, you don't want to traumatize them.
Yeah, like that's why you try to stay away from the games that's like, I'm thinking of a quick example where everyone in a row has to say a number or something. Like even something as simple as a number. If you get that one kid that just doesn't want to talk at all, you set up a bad situation, everyone feels bad, and the whole classroom environment just boom is gone because that person's now crying because you try to make them say, I don't know, oh
Well,
or something.
there's something really interesting about I see a lot of these activities, and I've heard a lot about them on like the JTR group page,
Okay.
where I have each student stand up and give an answer. I was like, okay, so in that 1 2 second period, one student is 100% engaged. What about your other 30 students?
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing until it's their turn? So cooperative groups kind of help facilitate a simultaneous interaction where everyone is talking,
Yeah, that's true. Because if
but in a very structured, safe way.
some people just check out. If they have 2 seconds of time to check out, they're going to check out, you know?
Oh
So,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. But if you give them a strategy or a structure where they're accountable, they can't check out.
Yeah, that's a good
They
point.
realize that they are a puzzle piece in the puzzle and they have to be there.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Routine and predictable for me is probably the biggest one I did before I knew what classroom environment is. Rachel, you can talk a little more about this, but routine is so huge in the ALT game if you want to have as smooth as class as possible, right? And smooth means fun, and smooth means easy to understand. I should have said that the other way. Smooth means easy to understand, which means fun for your
Right.
students and for you. And when the students are having fun, that's when they learn the most too, you know? So like everything goes around the smoothness. If there is no smoothness, you're like jumping over a hurdle to get to the fun parts and the learning parts, you know?
Right. And your students see you struggling.
Yeah, and that's just,
And they're laughing at you.
yeah, when they see you struggling, it's over, you know?
Yeah.
You got to fight to get like, hey, I'm a cool teacher vibe back. And that's really hard, you know?
Also, if you think about it, we are in a culture where there's a ton of routine and predictability. I mean, from the very beginning, from the first time they step into school, they're standing up at the very beginning of class and they're doing their, onegashimasu, let's bow and welcome our teacher.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So every single class starts with that routine, you know?
So they're already primed for routine, but the brain needs that priming also to take in more information, especially such a challenging subject like English.
Yeah, some students know nothing about. And
Yeah.
really, if you just start with this, I mean, something as simple as the same 3 things you just start a class. Like even you, obviously, I always think it's best to say the same thing when you start the class. Like even though, of course, you can throw in a little curveball for the last or whatever, but if you ask what's the date, what's the time, what's the weather, even doing that in the same order has a big effect, I think.
Yeah.
If you throw that off, it's like, whoa, what are you doing? And of course, sometimes I do it to get a laugh or whatever, but just try to get in and even in the bigger picture, like if you do the presentation of what the grammar is, you do a little tiny game, you do another review, and then you do a game. If you try to stick to that, you'll see the benefits of people know the flow, you know, they learn the flow of the class, you know?
Right. Learning a second language is fundamentally it's an input plus one. So
Okay, so what does that mean?
you build the foundation, you build the routine and the foundation. So everyone's sitting on this foundation, and then you add one a little bit at a time. You just add a little more.
So yeah, so if I'm understanding that correctly, if you try to change the routine of your classroom, you say like you're breaking away what you already learned. Like, all right, now we got to learn how to do this game. Now we got to learn how to do this intro to the class, and that's just that's not smart.
Right. It changes the terrain.
Yeah. So let's go. Click over here. Let's go to the next one. Flying fish there for the win there. For us as ALTs, of course, there's some of the parts of the classroom environment that we can't change. You know, sometimes there's JTs I work with that are horrible. That if any student says a wrong answer, they get pissed. I've had that happen before. Like wrong answer, and they get pissed.
Oh my gosh.
What's the date? Friday. Oh, it's Tuesday. You're dumb. They don't say you're dumb. I said that. They just get pissed though. Like,
But they may as well.
Yeah, it's the same thing, So that kid never wants to talk again if you make fun of them. So there's not much. You of course in that situation that's kind of extreme. You can talk to your company about if that problem happens. But there's a lot of situations where let's say your teacher doesn't have good discipline skills. Your teacher doesn't care about their students, and that kind of sets you up in a bad place, right? So like it's tough to get to a good classroom environment when your JT or the person you work with kind of hasn't set up the students themselves either at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you can change that for yourself. Maybe the students know that the JTE doesn't care, but they know if you care.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So one thing for I think the biggest thing that as ALT is maybe less in the high school game, but in junior high school game, one thing in elementary school for 100% is true, we have control of is make sure our activities are fun. So like there's a lot of other moving parts to this classroom environment you have. But the one thing you can make sure you have, at least at the core, is a fun activity at the end or during the class, you know? So like if you make sure you have that, at least you have something to get them going, something to work for, to try to like, okay, we're learning this English for this. We're learning this English for a reason to play this fun activity. And I think the younger you go, the more true this might be.
Yeah.
But because at high school, I know like you can't, they don't really get pumped for bingo or whatever, but maybe they do. I don't know.
Sometimes they do because they play it so much in the earlier years.
Oh yeah, so you like bring it back.
It's kind of nice to kind of throw back to it.
Okay, yeah. So especially in the younger classes, though, if you make sure your activities are fun, your main activity at the very least is fun, yet you're really going to be on a better track to having a better classroom environment. Because if they know they're working towards, who knows, whatever you're going to do at the end, that's not even fun or difficult to understand, then there's no hope.
Right.
All right, Sarah Jane, you got to go, but that's cool. We'll hopefully see you later. There are other ways to affect your classroom environment. That's what Rachel's going to get into later. But in my opinion, the number one A+ thing you can do to affect your classroom environment right here, tomorrow, next week, is make sure you have fun activities and fun games. But if that's not possible, there's things you can do. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Let's see where this one goes. Click, please. Okay, next. Let's check out Rachel's classroom setup. I know you've been waiting for this. I know this is a thing that you came here to view. The Caterpillar is looking very excited too. Let's get to it. Rachel, take it away. Oh, flying squirrel first. Flying squirrel. Let's let that linger there for a second. That's just worth it. Not even high quality, but he's still just flying there along. Let's go. All right, Rachel, let's get to it. Go ahead.
Okay, so at the end of the year, I had all of my students in rows. Everyone's got their students in rows. They're in little islands. And I asked my teachers, hey, would it be okay if I arrange the classroom? Oh, a little back story. I have a very sweet situation at one of my high schools. I actually have a language lab where the students come to me. Okay. So I have a classroom environment that I can manipulate the way I want to. Okay. Now, if you don't have that lovely luxury, that's okay. You can tell your students when you enter the classroom that you want a few of them to turn their desks together and put them into a group of 4. This helps.
That's something everyone can do. That's no big deal.
Yeah, everyone. So just get them into the routine. Boys and girls, when I enter the classroom, let's turn our desks around. Okay, what is today's date? What time is it? What is the weather? Let's get started. So I put my students into groups of 4 to help with my cooperative learning strategies that I use in the classroom. If you see in the middle, there's the group of 4. I've got a little baggie, and I have a bag at home with me today. I got these at Daiso. They're 100 yen. Each table has one. And also at each seat in the top left corner, I put a sticker with a letter and a number, 1A, 2B, 3A, 4B. And I just numbered them counterclockwise.
Okay, so what if you don't have a desk you can kind of write stuff on or whatever? What would you do to get around that kind of hurdle?
If I didn't have desks to put stickers on, I would number the students off at the very beginning and say, listen, you need to remember your letter and your number. And just number them off 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth.
Okay, yeah, at junior high school especially, everyone can do that.
Yeah, and give them, at the beginning when you're kind of going over it, enforce it. Give them some sort of incentive to remember, or give them practice. Test them out. When I call your number, please stand up, or when I call your number, come see me. That way, okay. If they're listening. But also they will remember their number, especially because they're getting something for it. And then kind of say, now that you're doing what I expect you to do, let's move on.
Okay. So right? What do you use the numbers? Well, maybe get into it later.
Yeah, I will get into
it. Okay, go ahead.
So they're in their groups. I I give them activities to learn about one another, because that's about classroom building and also team building. That's what creates the safe space where I know I can take risks. I can say things and I'm not going to be laughed at or made fun of. Maybe I do say something funny and maybe everyone does laugh, but that's okay because it's in good nature. I'm with friends.
Okay.
So that's the whole point of putting them into groups of 4.
So you say, I didn't get the beginning of that. So to get in that kind of you're with friends relationship, the kind of the groups thing sets that up, you're saying? Like it's like, this is my classroom, this is how we do it kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay. I can see that.
It's also easier for me to manage. While I give them an activity, I can quickly scan or walk around and listen to what's going on in a group.
Yeah, it's definitely better than the rows, the usual setup where it's just rows facing you.
Yeah. Now, also the first thing I do in the very first class, I teach a quiet signal or an attention signal. Some of you probably have JTEs that are like, please listen to teacher, please be quiet, kind of begging students to calm down and give you their attention.
Yeah.
And that takes up a lot of time. So I teach them a quiet signal and we practice it over and over and over again. I'll practice it like 4 or 5 times the first day, and then I'll test them again the next time I see them and see if they remember. And usually they're really good about it. It could be really cute if you're in elementary school. There's some nice little chants that you can use Google to find. I know like there's the McDonald's one, like when I say ba-da-ba-ba-ba, the kids say, I'm loving it.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I never heard that one.
If you hear me clap once, if you hear me clap twice, if you hear me clap 3 times.
The clapping thing I've seen work really well. I actually never used it, but a lot of people do the clapping thing and it works pretty good.
Yeah, the clapping works. I've heard some ALTs turn the lights off. I think that's a little much. I think it's a little like, oh no, we're in trouble kind of thing.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like, oh, playtime, lights off or something.
So what I do, I tell them, okay, when I say lights and eyes, I raise my hand. When I say lights and eyes, you say attention. And
put your hands on your head there.
There's a reason why I have them put their hands on their heads, especially with high schoolers. Because when I have your attention, some of them are still writing and they're acting like they're listening, but they're writing. So I know they're not listening.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely a thing.
Hands are on their heads, they can't write.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing with junior high school. They just keep writing, even if they're still doing their work or whatever, but they just write forever and don't listen. Yeah.
Right. They're not listening. And I'm probably telling them something key that they need to hear.
All right. So should I go to the next slide or I
organize, and I also set these little kits up at their desk that I use with them every day. I stash flashcards inside. I stash any material that I know that they're going to be using. So it's right there. I don't have to spend my time distributing anything.
Okay.
It's already
so you change up what's in there every time.
Sometimes, like the stuff you see on the table is always in there, the markers, the smart boards, the flag, the glue stick, but we don't always use that. Other times I might, stash a set of flashcards in, or like I have talking chips in there this week because we're going to use the talking chips.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We got to learn about talking chips later. But,
they're really cool.
Let's go to gotta go to the next one, I think? Or,
sure.
Okay, let's go away from the doc into the
strategies. So we talked about the attention signal. Now, once I've primed my students up, I can start.
Go ahead. I jumped ahead one. Sorry.
Whoa. So once you've primed them to this is how we're going to be, then you can start putting in these cooperative learning activities. Now, I did a week-long workshop and training, learning about Kagan strategies. He's this educational psychologist. His name is Spencer Kagan. His research is very thorough. He's been doing it since the 70s. And a lot of people are like, oh, I do cooperative learning. We do group work. And it's like, whoa, no, that's totally different. Because group work is not structured. There's always, at least one mule who does all the work, and there's always at least one who's just slacks off and doesn't do anything, and they check out.
Yeah.
The other two are kind of like, maybe there's headbutting, maybe there's not. Who knows what's really going on? So the research that Dr. Kagan does offers these strategies that are structured, that offer 100% engagement and accountability. So no one is off the hook, but it's still safe, and the students are learning social skills kind of implicitly.
Okay.
So some of the structures I use, I do a fan and pick. with vocabulary, for instance, I might write vocabulary words on one side and definitions on the other, give the students some cards in each of their groups. If you look in the top right corner, I've got the 1, 2, 3, 4. So the number 1, fans. Number 2, picks a card. Number 3, reads the card. And number 4, answers it.
So this should be with vocab cards that have the definition on one side and the question on the other side, right?
Sure.
And so it could be with any
card. Or the question on one side and the answer on the other.
Okay, so it could be with any card then.
Yeah, it could be any content.
So then you say, no, I'm a little confused about the numbers here. So if you choose a number, I choose number, I choose.
No, you don't choose any numbers. So remember, your seats are numbered.
Oh yeah, okay.
So the person in seat 1 fans the card. This person in 2 picks a card. Number 3 chooses or answers. And number 4 responds. And so you kind of teach the students to like give praise or say, oh, I got to coach you. That's not quite right. And maybe give them a hint, which is challenging, but you work up to that.
Okay, I see what you mean. So if it might be difficult to read, but in the top right, it says like, since each of the groups have that little number on the corner of their table that is there from 1A, was it 1A, 2B? What is it? 1A,
yeah, 1A, 2B, 3A, 4B.
So each of you have one, there's a little, one of these 4 jobs they have to do. So 1 is hold the cards out. Or fan. 2 is pick out one of those cards. 3 is answer the question that was on the card. And 4 is to say,
respond.
Good job, or that wasn't quite right.
Right.
You're still cool though, but.
Or maybe they'll just tell them the answer.
Okay, that seems cool.
And then you rotate. Then number 2 fans the cards. Number 3 picks the card. Number 4 answers, and 1 responds. So everyone gets an opportunity to do each of the jobs.
Okay. So how do you change it up? Do you just turn? How do you like? Okay, now we're gonna do fanning number 2 or whatever.
So I actually have these. I have that.
Oh.
Somewhere in here. Okay. I have one of those cards here.
Remember, can't see you. Can't see you.
Oh, you can't see me.
I can put it on here. Ready? Go. I'll
sure.
put it on here. Go.
So
now you're on.
In my little bag of tricks, I've got one of those cards that has the numbers, and this one is for read, cheer, add on, respond, or read, cheer, check, answer. I just set this in the center of their table and I line it up with number 1. And then as they do their first round, they rotate the card so that the second person has the new role.
Okay, but you
could, it's a visual cue that reminds them.
Yeah, and you could do that on the board, really. Just like
you can do it on the board. You can make your own. I mean, you can just get a piece of cardstock, write one yourself, and photocopy it, cut it out, and set it on their table.
Oh, okay. So yeah, this is definitely something for junior high school at the lowest, high school at probably the best, I would say, right?
Oh yeah, this is great because it's a visual reinforcement of kind of keep them on track.
That sounds pretty sweet. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let's go. If I can go, should I go to the next one or?
So I do fan and pick. I also do a quiz trade, which works in groups of 4 or in pairs.
Okay.
So maybe with the same cards, student A asks the question, student B answers the question, then student A reads the next person's card and then answers it or whatever. Okay. And then they trade cards.
Okay, so then they have to ask the question. Okay.
Or this is also good in whole group. Maybe you want to get all the kids kind of working together randomly. So you give everyone a card. They stand up. They kind of walk around the room and they pair up. They read a card, answer the question, read a card, answer the question, trade cards, and then walk around again.
Okay.
So yeah.
Another thing to do with the cards,
Yeah. I've also got the talking chips.
What about those? Yeah.
So I ordered these from Kagan's online store. I got a class set. I have 9 of these little canisters.
Oh, let me show your face again. Hold on. Go.
So I've got 9 of these little canisters, and inside are chips. This particular set is called the class building chips. So it's what kind of sets the stage, kind of smooths out any ruffles and gets the kids getting to know each other. So they read a question. This one says, what is your favorite book? Why?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Yeah, well, I mean, it could be, maybe the title is in Japanese.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe the why is really simple. Maybe the why is like, I like the book.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would say it's funny or something.
And that's fine. I mean, it's really just to get the students comfortable talking with one another.
So that's what you do? It's like a warm-up or just like...
Sometimes it's a warm-up, sometimes.
Oh, okay, I see. That seems pretty cool.
Yeah, sometimes it's a brain break. The
Brain
final
break.
thing, yeah. A brain break is good to get oxygen to your brain. You know, when you're looking at your students and you see a few of them yawning and their eyes are getting glazed over, they're checked out. They're
Okay.
gone. So you kind
Okay.
of want to get them up. Sometimes you can have just stand up and stretch. Just kind of change an activity really quickly. Gets that blood oxygen to their brain, and then they're going again.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
The final thing I use is the switchboard. Um, this is great when I want to check comprehension, but I don't want to call one student out. I want to check everyone. And it's got to be quick. It shouldn't take a lot of time, and it should feel safe. So I've got these, like, you can show me again.
There you go.
I've got these little Ziploc bag type things, and you can stick any kind of worksheet inside. The set that I got comes with a few templates, but you need a dry erase marker. And maybe I'll ask the students, draw a picture or write an answer. And I'll use it as an exit slip maybe before we leave the classroom. Draw a picture, and I'll say 3, 2, 1, showdown, and everyone raises it over their head, and I can quickly scan and see where everyone is. What are they thinking about? What do they understand? What don't they understand?
So you say draw any picture. I could draw a picture of a dog. I could draw a picture of fish. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or since I'm teaching debate, I might say, so we're working on agreeing and disagreeing, or saying, giving our opinions. So I might say, all students should wear a uniform to school. Do you agree or disagree? And they're either going to circle agree or disagree.
Oh, so they kind of all have that board, that kind of board there. They all have that.
Everyone's got one. I have a class set.
Yeah, you could definitely do that with a blank piece of scrap paper, though, too.
Yeah, or any worksheet that I might have created that I can just stick in here and preserve it. They're only writing on the outside, and then
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And definitely, that's definitely could be with junior high school too. If you say draw what you're thinking, I mean, even though they might not be able to debate about it, like that your high school kids might, but they might write what they're thinking.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like I can be an individual for a minute.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next one. Okay, so why does this work?
It works because you have a structure, your brain knows what you're doing. And also, if you're using that routine, your students know what you're doing. So it kind of frees up more time. I don't have to explain the directions. I don't have to distribute materials. They're already distributed. Or I call student 1, hey, come get these scissors. Student 3, come get these cards. And they do it. And they're listening. I know they're listening because they show up.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I think for me is if you make a routine, it works in so many ways. But another good point is you don't have to prepare for so much when you're doing the exact same thing every time. So it's like gives you a lot of extra time.
Yeah, it really does.
If you have to think about, all right, what am I going to do for intro lesson? What am I going to do for the middle? What am I going to do for the end? If you kind of do the same, you don't always do the same finished product, but if your intro game is always the same, if you always do the same pieces of a game, you're so much less to prepare, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, if the only thing that changes is the content, you're smooth sailing.
Yeah, and Joy Song says Zippy Pouch is a great idea too with the thing. That sounds like it would work. Yeah, whiteboards are kind of annoying. I used to do that thing where you carry it around, but that was kind of annoying, so I dropped it. But that would work. This kind of in the plastic thing would work a lot better than that.
Yeah. So then also with those structures and those strategies, there's clear expectations. It's safe. The students know what's expected of them. They know what their role is, and it kind of builds their confidence because they're like, oh, I know I can do this. I've done this before. I know what's expected of me. So then they're willing to take a few more risks.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense to me too.
Also, you have that 100% participation. Nobody's off the hook. Everyone's engaged. No one's sleeping. And if they are, you kind of walk by and you kind of gauge what's going on. There are some instances where we go into an activity. I walk around the classroom. I'm listening. I'm kind of monitoring, and I see one table. I'm like, this doesn't look like how I explained it to look. What's going on?
Yeah.
But I can quickly model with them. I can use them as the model, so they're showing the rest of their group, oh, this is what we're really doing. Okay, I misunderstood.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. And then of course there's that social interaction. So if they're socializing, if they're interacting, they're learning. And if they're learning, they're probably having fun.
That's for sure.
Because learning feels good.
Yeah. Learning while having fun is an important part.
Absolutely.
Only fun is not good though. All right, Rachel, that was pretty awesome. And I have some questions at least. And if you have any other questions, if you have any questions for Rachel about this, please put them in now because we'll probably see them a minute later. Oh, you still have some resources. Go ahead.
So I stuck up some resources because some people I'm sure like I have no idea what Kagan is. I don't know how to use it. I don't know where to find it. So these are some books that I use that really help me out. The Kagan Cooperative Learning really has a lot of the strategies that I talked about, but you could also find those strategies in class building and in the team building books.
Do you have a link to maybe search that's easier to find? Like Kagan?
Yeah, I would do kaganonline.org or kaganteaching.org.
Let me write it here. Kagan Online something.
Yeah, I know it's a Kagan and it's a .org. It's either Kagan Teaching or Kagan Online.
Okay, I wrote it. It's fine.
Probably the juiciest thing you're going to get out of this, though, is the silly sports and goofy games.
Yeah, that sounds good.
There's some really fun stuff in there. I like to use those as my brain breaks, but it's also good for like kind of creating trust in the classroom. A lot of it's good for warm-up activities.
So here's a question: Is this aimed at high school or is it aimed at any age group? Or
you can do this at any age group. It's effective for for English as a second language.
Okay.
I mean, you can do it in adult workshops. I could probably incorporate some of this at Yoshizuka at the ALT meetings.
Okay. Okay, as you said, feel free to ask you. What if they want to ask you? How can they contact you?
You can contact me on Facebook. You could also give them my email address if they want to email me.
Okay, I'll do that as soon as I find it.
Sure. It's lashrl@gmail.
Okay, LS.
It's lashrl, LASHRL.
SRL. There you go.
lashrl@gmail.
Okay, got it. So if you have any questions for Rachel, go ahead and send them her way. And let's get to Rachel's Q&A because I have some questions. So if you have a question, please put it in there. I'm going to get it started though. So what do you do if you said a little bit about it, but I want to know, what do you do if you have a student that just really doesn't care? Like my job is to sleep during English class, What do you do when that situation happens?
So there's definitely a couple of my students and a few of my classes that are a little bit hesitant. I engage with them. I ask them questions. Maybe I praise them. And it's usually something simple. I don't ever want to call them out in front of everybody and embarrass them because that's not exactly safe. But once I say, okay, we're in our activity, we're doing our thing, I'm walking around monitoring. Oh, hey, what's going on? First I'll ask them, how are you today? And I've taught my students to not tell me I'm fine, thank you. I've taught them to tell me how they really are. So if one's like, oh, I'm hungry, I'm like, oh, well, did you have breakfast or did you have lunch? And I just kind of talk to them and they know I care.
Okay, that's cool.
Once they know I care, then I model with the group and I kind of show them, oh, maybe he didn't understand what the directions were. Maybe he doesn't understand how this activity works.
Oh, okay.
I kind of engage in the whole group and get the activity going, and I build up his confidence, and then he's going. I praise him, and he's going.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. Jay Cowboy has a question. Why don't you use the students' names instead of the numbers?
I teach like 600 students, so I do call their names. I do use their names, but sometimes I want to know that the whole group is listening, so I'll use their numbers. So I mix it up a little bit. My tables all have name cards, so that's how I can learn my students' names because I do think that's important. It's personal. It's personal. I don't want to be called a number. I want to be called by my name. I get you. But for the sake of like getting materials, hey, we're gonna play a game. Can all the number twos, can you please stand up and come get the game pieces? And while they're getting game pieces, number one, I want you guys, the first person to go is going to be the youngest person at your table.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and then they have to say, oh, when's your birthday? And they're talking.
That's some good stuff. That's some good stuff. Like, yeah, I think remembering the names is really important.
Yeah.
But as long as you just don't stick to the numbers all the time, I think you're fine.
No, absolutely. I'll praise them, or sometimes all right, I'm gonna model this activity. Saya, can you help me out with this? And he'll be like, yeah, it's okay. And so we'll model, and I use a stamp incentive at the end. I kind of work stamps into their grade somehow. So I'll stamp and be like, hey, thank you so much for helping me out, Saya.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
We got another question here from Mr. T-Bot, or she, I'm not sure, but he's epic question here. Isn't it also efficient because you're getting one member of each group to do something?
Sometimes it depends on the task. Sometimes I need all four of them doing something simultaneously.
So you instead of it's not always one person do something. You're saying then.
Right.
Okay. Sadie coming in with a question. What's the environment of your school?
That's a good question.
Do your students generally care about doing well in their school? I'm going to guess the answer is yes on that one.
I teach at 2 schools, and one of my schools is very, very low performance. There's a huge dropout rate. The students are generally not motivated, and
Okay.
and a lot of them are off task.
And so you still do this there, though?
I still do it there. I don't have the luxury of the language lab, but I do have certain expectations that they know. Oh, Rachel Sensei's here. This is what we got to do.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit. Would you say it's a little bit harder, but you still can do it?
Yeah, it's a little bit harder at first, but once you get them primed, it's easier.
Oh, okay.
Those first few days with your students at the beginning of the year are so important to the rest of how the year is going to go for you.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, the first month, I said it many times on the website, is the most that month you want to bust your A to make sure you set your stuff up, and once you do that, the rest of the year is just so much easier.
The first days of school. My second school, where I've got the language lab, they are middle performing, so they're not as high, but they care.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's fair to say. Next question from Miss Tivat. What level of JT involvement do you have? Sounds like you are very independent.
So it's 50-50.
Okay, so as in that means two things. Could be that you have 25 minutes, he has 25 minutes, or this is your class, this is my class kind of thing.
No, it's more back and forth. So I recognize that the teacher has the students more than I do when they're not with me. Okay. So I know it's their class, but when they come into my environment, they know that I'm leading. Okay. But of course, I involve my JTE. I model with her or him. And I also ask questions. I say, oh, what does this mean? If I'm teaching them a difficult vocabulary word, because I am teaching debate in one of my schools, it's kind of hard to explain, like, what does discuss mean, sensei? And they'll explain it. They'll explain that in Japanese, because that's kind of hard to explain in English. Like, oh, we're talking about something. We're sharing opinions.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So I definitely involve my JTE.
Let's see. No more. I have one more question though. How long did it take you to get this fully implemented? Let's say from the beginning of your idea to when it's like, okay, we got it now 100% good.
You mean here in Japan?
And then I mean like with your kind of classroom setup here, right?
With my setup.
So like, how long did it take you from starting it to getting it? Like, let's say I want to start this tomorrow. I mean, how long will it take me to get there?
My first classroom experience, I did not know about the cooperative learning, and I was already very organized, and I knew that I had my students, I wanted them to talk. So I had an idea of what I wanted them doing, and I knew that a routine was clutch. Okay. So I started off kind of rocky. If I had known then what I know now, would have been completely different. Then in my second classroom environment, I kind of stumbled into that halfway in the year. I had to cover for a teacher that got fired, so it was already really rocky.
Oh, okay.
And we were kind of just like, we're going to hold on, boys and girls. We're going to get through this, and we're going to have fun, and we're going to enjoy each other while we can. And then I did the Kagan training over the summer, and I started a new school year, and I implemented it right from the beginning. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I knew exactly what my classroom should look like and what we should be learning about, and I used it from day one, and it was amazing.
Okay, sounds like it. Definitely sounds
amazing.
And last question for me, and last question for everyone, it seems like. Did you talk to your teacher about did you have a meeting beforehand about how you're going to do this, or did you just do it and then hope they get it? You know what I mean?
I've noticed that my teachers at this particular school don't do meetings with everybody.
Okay.
So I kind of got to find them individually at their own time. Or,
yeah, that's pretty common though. That's pretty common.
When I can tell that they're available. Yeah. And I briefed them about it. So this is what I'm interested in doing. This is how it would look like. Are you comfortable with this? Are you willing to explore this with me? And they all gave me the go ahead.
Okay. So you made check with them at least.
Yeah. Well, of course, when my principal, introduced me to everyone, he said, oh, this is Rachel. She's an elementary school teacher. She has teaching experience. So thankfully, everyone kind of trusts me.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Some places that wouldn't happen if they had a bad situation with an LT before you got there, but
yeah.
But still, you could always show them. If you show, don't tell. Show you have the skills. They'll listen to you.
Exactly. I was like, yeah, maybe I know what I'm doing. I've never taught high school before. This is totally different for me.
Yeah, I agree. Exactly. Yeah. So Joy, we have one more question from Joy, and she says, "What do you suggest you do when you're halfway through the school year and the kids are very set in their ways, but you want to start implementing cooperative learning?"
You can,
We're gonna get into that a little bit later, but yeah, go ahead, Rachel.
it's never too late to incorporate this. You know, the next time you see your students, say, hey, boys and girls, I want to start something a little different. It's okay. And just once you introduce it, just stick with it. Be consistent.
Yeah, Joy, actually, I'm gonna get into that. Let's go. So let's call Q&A over, but Joy, this is kind of gonna answer your question. Let's get into the, oh, now I'm not sharing it. Hang on. Video editor fired. Okay, let's get into the kind of the steps to make that change that Joy's asking about. I think a lot of people, if they want to get closer to what, even if you can't go all the way to what the thing Rachel has, there's always some parts you can take from it, right? You can get your environment better.
Yeah.
So this is just what I would do. Rachel, if I say something that you think differently, please let me know. Let's present to everyone. Hope that's there. Okay, so first, I would ask myself, like, if your classroom is not great, if your classroom environment's not great, you got to ask yourself, work on yourself first, right? That's what I like to do. If you want to make a change, first you got to change yourself before you look elsewhere and blame other people, right? So
absolutely.
Think like, are your classes really fun? Are you trying to give your class students fun? Are you just trying to, well, I got to study this grammar point, so we just got to start with this grammar point. Are your activities easy enough to understand that the students, you're not setting them up to fail, right? Because if you're trying to do like really difficult grammar points, and it's too difficult for what they want to, or you're not doing it an easy enough way, they're just going to check out, right? So there's no hope of doing this cool stuff that Rachel showed, right? And are you in enough? So in enough for me means you are showing the students, hey, I'm with this, I'm in with you. I'm a teacher, you're a student, right? But we're in this kind of game together, right? We both got to be at the school for this next 3 hours. I got to teach you this stuff. You got to learn this stuff. So I don't want to sound, I always get in trouble when I say this, like, you got to show kind of like, hey, I'm cool with you. I'm not cool with you. I'm not cool with you, like, not friends. You're still definitely a professional relationship. I mean, like, hey, we both got to get to this next 45 minutes together. So if we have fun, why don't we just have fun together and do it? You know, that kind of is what I mean with in enough, you know?
Yeah.
And also, we talked about earlier with the routines. Are you using your time wisely in the class, right? So if you're trying to do a different intro game every class where it's, okay, this takes 10 minutes to describe, or you're having your students cut out the cards at the back of the book and stuff that takes 20 minutes of your class, you know, that's just not using time wisely. And anytime you break away from your program, that's not towards learning, your kids their heads just go elsewhere, right? So like you look at it, bring them back in after that.
Mm-hmm. Also, you should be having fun, you know, are my classes having fun? Am I having fun?
Yeah, because you know that's what LT Insider is all about. If the more fun you have, the more fun your students have, and the more fun you have, the better your life is, right?
Right.
The more time you're in Japan to have fun, right? So might as well do it, you know.
Plus, you're the model, so if your students are looking at you for the cue.
Yeah, definitely.
Are you having fun? Sensei's having fun. I should have fun too.
Definitely. You know? You make the classroom mood. You know, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
One question here, quick question from T-Bots. How about ways to get uncomfortable or doubting JT's on board? Surely you know on board if you say it. T-Bot, I don't 100% understand the question. Could you rephrase it and I'll get right back to it, I promise. If it's not all your fault, now if you want, Rachel's got a cool epic setup, right? You got to start in steps to get there. Okay, so like, if I was going to do Rachel's setup, which I don't have Rachel's setup, I would definitely try to do it this way. Like, start with one thing at a time. So today, I think I get into the next slide. One thing at a time to get you there. So first thing, most important, is after you made sure your games are fun, of course, is you need to get into that routine. Now, your routine can be different for everybody. Rachel, what's your first 5-minute routine, if you could share that with us?
First 5 minutes, they walk in, they hand it, I have a little assignment box that I made really pretty and labeled assignments. And I say, you know, please turn in your assignments immediately before the bell. Please get your name card out on your table. The bell rings, they stand up, they onegaishimasu, bow, sit down. I ask them, what is today's date? What time is it? What's the weather like? How are you today? And maybe I'll ask a few random students, hey, how are you today? And they'll model, oh, I'm tired, or I'm hungry, I'm excited, whatever.
Yeah. So okay. So you have that's a nice routine, right? Everyone's routine is kind of different. For me, I always do Yokotate game with no matter what the age level, and that's how I get those questions out of
I don't
how's
know.
the weather. Oh my God, you don't? Come on.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know the Japanese games that are going on. I just
So it's just like it's basically there's the easy way to say it. You ask a question. All the kids stand up first step. Kids stand up. You ask a question like, what's the weather like? You choose one student, right? One student gets to choose if they get the question right. They choose straight or side. So if they say straight, everyone in their straight line row gets to sit down, and they're kind of safe. If
ah,
they say side, everyone in a horizontal way gets to sit down.
okay.
So it just adds a little more play to the easy questions of how's the weather, well, all that stuff,
Okay. So I
That's
could
not.
use this at my physics school.
I start that every single class that no matter what age, high school, junior high school, elementary school, and I kind of stay away from third grade, second grade, first grade because you don't want to
Oh,
put anyone in a situation where it's like two people left and they're like 7 years old and they start crying and stuff because that does happen.
yeah, yeah.
so and also so start with the same warm up. That's the easy one, right?
Yeah.
Start with the same structure. Uh, not you don't have to stick to this exactly like this is the part we learn about the grammar. This is the part we practice it. This is the part we do the game. Not you don't have to be that strict, but try to stick to some kind of a plan where you don't do wildly different things every time.
Yeah.
Sadie comes in with a question: what happens if your students keep ignoring your routine? Sadie, sounds like you have some bad situation. But let me talk to Rachel. I'm gonna get you can answer too. If students ignore your routine repeatedly, I said repeatedly a lot of times, I would talk to the teacher and get help. Like if it's like if there's no stopping them, then you have to it's okay to ask for your JT to like this student really is making the class tough. I want to do this cool activity with the other kids, but this kid is really making it tough. It's not losing to ask to say that in my opinion.
So any misbehavior that happens is typically unconscious behavior, and it's usually for a reason. I would find out what that reason is, and maybe you don't want to feed the misbehavior because they're looking for attention.
Well, that's for sure. Yeah.
So you don't want to give them the attention because then they know that they can keep doing that, whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah,
Because
never stop. Remember, I said as teacher, don't do that in the class. Wait till after.
right.
Yeah.
But also think about what is your routine? What are you asking them to do? And why can't they adjust? Is it too difficult for them? Do they need a clue? I noticed at my low school, the teacher asked what the date is, and I almost fell over. She's in their faces. Do you know the date? What is today's date? And the kid is looking at her like, yeah, yeah, I know the date. And he's like, okay, good, and walks away.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, whoa, what just happened? You just let him off the hook. He said, yeah, he knew what the date was because he wanted you to get out of his face. Does he really know what the date is? You
Yeah.
didn't even check. I bet 7 of the kids in here probably don't know today's date because how many of them actually know the months of the year?
Well, you find sometimes that teachers try to show off in front of you. Like my kids know the date at least, so let me show you. And like you get frustrated when the students don't listen.
Yeah.
They practice for like what's it called? The lesson where you have to show other teachers what you're doing. They like practice that for months.
Okay.
Like when they have to do a presentation to like the BOE or something, they practice that for months. Like I'm gonna ask these questions.
Well, it floored me. And, this kid he put his head down by the end of it. And I was like, maybe he really had no idea what that date was. You could have helped him. You could kind of probe a little more, kind of like give him some sort of bones to start with.
Yeah, definitely.
So I would definitely, you've got to know your students. And if you don't know your students, find a way to get to know them because that's going to help you. They have the information you're looking for to kind of fill in that missing link as to why they're ignoring you or why they're resisting the routine.
So yes, so say that Rachel's answer is probably the best one if you go to the school a lot of times. Yeah.
Right.
If you don't go to a lot of times and it's really making your class difficult, I think asking the teacher is fine. But
It may not even have anything to do with you. It may be something personal at home that they're bringing to school.
Yeah. But then the question would be, what I would ask is, then how can I fix it? Like it's
How
not
can
my
you meet
problem.
them on their channel?
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. That's the right way to do it though. But T-Bot, I'm coming back to your question. Sadie says, are there any consequences to this to the students that your students are aware of, right? Like if they don't listen to your program, what happens? Or is it only positive reinforcements?
So kind of, creating a positive environment is all about maintaining that positivity.
Okay.
So I kind of stray from discipline. Discipline sucks. We don't want to we don't want to negatively enforce anything. We want it to be positive.
Yeah, if you want to have the most fun as possible, you don't want to get any negativity in there. It's the fun zone. When James classes start, it's the fun zone, you know?
Yeah. So if I see like, okay, we're gonna do this activity, and then at least half of the class is struggling, I say, okay, lights and eyes, let's stop for a second.
Okay, so then you got to try to reset everything.
Re-steer the ship. Yep.
Okay. Another question from T-Bot. How would you convince your JT to kind of try these new kind of things?
I'm not here to convince anyone to do anything that they don't want to do. I'm definitely not here to convince anyone in general. I think the most powerful thing you can do as an educator, as a teacher, as an ALT is to just lead by example. Show, don't tell.
Yeah, don't ask either.
Yeah, don't ask.
T-Bot, sorry. If you ask, you can get a no, right? So if you ask, you might hear no. So if you don't ask anything, you don't hear no. Like maybe afterwards,
there are some instances where it's better to ask permission than forgiveness, but I like to ask. I like to ask for forgiveness instead.
Yeah, definitely. During teaching and not doing anything stupid, don't ask, just do it.
Yeah, just do it. I also am really clever in I like to hook people. So I'll set specific things out on a table and kind of get people like, what is she up to? What is that? What is she going to do with that? What? And it's amazing. One of my supervisors sits next to me, and I don't teach with her, but I see her style of teaching, and you probably see it too sometimes. They give out an English passage to read, and they have the students, their way of checking comprehension is to have the students write Japanese translation.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
What? We're not even writing English? Like, I can't believe it, but I don't say anything. I asked her about it. And
but bottom line is what they do is what you got to do. But yeah.
Right. So one day I put a piece of paper on my table that it's Japanese. It's got some things going on it, and it caught her eye, and she asked me about it.
Okay, that's cool.
Like, oh, this is something I'm working with a teacher on at my base school. We're kind of changing her style of teaching a lesson. She's like, oh, really? Can you talk to me about it? And so I showed her what it is, and she's like, can I have a copy of that? And I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's cool.
So I kind of hook people in a really subtle way.
Yeah. So T-Bot, I hope that kind of answers. I think start slow and just do it and don't ask, right? Just see how it goes. If it works great, then you'll have no problem doing it more and more and more.
Yeah. Beautiful thing about teaching is that you can't lose anything. If you lose, you just stop and try something new.
Yeah. All right. So we are going long. So let's get back to the thing. Let's get to the next first. Okay, let me share my screen. Video editor here. Just doing a horrible job. Set up. Go. Present to everyone. We're good. Okay. So next, after you set a routine, a small routine, improve the relationships with your students. Now, the more you go to school, look, I see here, Jay Cowboy's been at one school for 17 or 18 years. Whoa. Right? So you should be in there with you have a long relationship with all your students, right?
Wow.
So this should be easy for you. But if you have any time, you want to spend more time with your students, 5 minutes before class, 5 minutes after class. It's not even that big a deal. But if you show students that you're willing to share more of you with them, even that little bit of 5 minutes. I know it's tough. I know you want to go back to your desk. 5 minutes goes a long way. And also recess time. Now, you don't do this all the time. In the first month, though, if you read that post about your first month being an ALT, your first month, I think you should play recess every day if you can, if it's possible. And this is maybe not high school. High school is a way different ballgame. Elementary school, though, you definitely should be doing that. Because once you show the students, hey, we're in this together, like I said before, we got to get through this lesson. I'm here to teach you. You're here to learn it. Let's just do it. And then we can spend more time learning about each other again. Like if you are working together towards a common goal, all this stuff is easier. Everything is easier.
Yeah.
So, of course, staying professional, by the way, I got to make sure I said that. You don't want to be the kind of dude that says, well, you can ask me about the stupid questions and I'll still answer them. You still want to be a real teacher here, but you want to show that, hey, while I am a real teacher, I like to have fun too. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Next is simplify your class. And this is obvious. If your class is derailed, as it sounds like, say, maybe your class has, not derailed, that one student's derailed. But that is a sign that maybe you need to simplify things. So like leave out you're doing a vocab with 8 vocabulary words. If there's a hard one, just take it out, forget about it.
Or only cover 4.
Yeah. Yes. Go lower than that. Yeah. The more you have to, the more you have to cover, the more chances there are to just lose the brains to go elsewhere. Right. So just make it as easy as you can. And that's how you keep the kids engaged in the whole class. Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's always ways to simplify things, I think.
Yeah. There's also this, this model you can use. It's called gradual release. Maybe you are looking at 8 vocabulary words and you say, I can do this. And you show them the skill that you're trying to teach them.
Okay.
And you do the first one. Maybe you do the second one. I can do this and I can do that. Now, what can we do? And you kind of lead them and have them fill in the blank. And then you say, okay, for these last 3 boys and girls, what can you do? I want you to use the skill we just learned. Show me what you can do.
So like, how would you use that? Let's say if I'm learning days of the week, let's go easy one.
Okay. So maybe I can sing this song. Maybe you want to teach them the days of the week with a song. So boys and girls, I can sing this song and you sing the song. Or I can read the words to this song. Okay. Yeah. Now I can sing this song. Okay. Now what can we do? We can read the words to this song. So we read the words together. Now we can sing the song together. Now I want you to read the words to yourself. Okay. Now I want you all to sing the song.
Okay. I see.
Right.
I see what you mean there.
So it's a repetitive thing, but it gradually releases them. So like, oh, teacher can do it. We can do it. I can do it.
So yeah, just that's another thing. That's not so just building up to make sure everyone stays in the right course, right?
Yeah.
So everyone's staying on board. Everyone's on the train.
Yep. No one's falling off.
Okay. Look at this. Like I have like 15 FPS on these turns here. The turns look cool on the presentation, but when you do it on Google Hangout, they go like ding, 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 5 frames per second. It's really bad.
We can't hear it.
Sorry about that. It's no sound, but it's not moving smooth, right?
It's okay. It's all right.
So, number 4, like I said to you, Sadie, sometimes it's okay to ask your teacher about what to do, how you want to improve things, work together, right? If you have a good relationship. Now, I know good relationships are not always there, and sometimes they're really bad relationships if they don't want to talk to you. But in some situations, I know you can talk to the teacher and say, hey, this class is not working out. I want to work with you to make it better. In elementary school, of course, this is way harder because your teacher probably won't speak English unless you speak Japanese. But it's still, you want to be if things are going bad, you want to have 2 people going at the team instead of just 1, if you can, So Rachel, you're saying like you work together with your JT, like kind of back and forth thing you said?
Yeah.
So that's the best situation, right? That's the best. But if that's not the case, you want to work with your teacher to kind of get closer to that point. I've had some articles about how to work towards that because it's not easy. I know. Sometimes you go to school the first day and the teacher's like, this is our classes, these 10 days the whole year. See you then. And that's what they do. And I know that's a case for a lot of people. Those ones are going to be tough.
Yeah.
But if you really want to make it work, you just got to go. You got to be the nice one all the time, right? Kill him with kindness, right? Hey, I'm going to try this. What do you think? And he might say, he or her might say, I don't like it. I don't want to do this. This is what I normally do. You just got to keep wearing on them,
Yeah.
Keep wearing on them. It'll happen.
Or, kind of figure out what is it that you do every time and see if you can adapt it.
Yeah. So Sadie has a question. Do you have an example with grammar about your building thing you talked about with the days of the week, right?
Oh, the grammar release?
Yeah.
So say we're learning conjugating verbs. Go, went, going. And you want to focus on the I'm terrible with grammar, so excuse me. I'm sorry. I didn't study English formally. Give them examples like I can say blah 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 blah. We can say blah 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 blah. Here we go. I saw recently that apparently a lot of the schools have smart boards.
Yeah, this is a new thing. Some schools are getting smart boards.
Sadie, do you have a smart board? Or
she'll hear in about a minute and a half. So keep going.
So find out if she has a smart board. If you have a smart board, gradual release is beautiful because you can, and I have a ton of smartboard files that I'm very willing to share that are built around phonics, but the games and the activities are great. You just kind of throw the content in. You can use your smartboard, or you can write on the board and show, I can do this. Okay, now what can we do? And maybe call a student up to give an example, because they kind of like to get up and be in front of the class. Some of them do. Some of them kind of like that. And you know which ones they are. Use them to kind of prime it.
No smartboard for Sadie here.
Okay, that's
keep
fine.
going. Yeah.
You can use your dry erase board. I like to use like sentence strips. You know, can I stick a sentence strip on this board? Can I stick it in the right place? Maybe I got an interactive word bank on my dry erase board, and I can choose this word and put it in this sentence. What can we do? And maybe you can kind of ask for a few examples, and we can do it. And then you can say, okay, what can you do? And you can actually have your students use the smartboard that I talked about, the little smart cards and the Ziploc bags. That way they're all doing it. You can look to see that they're all doing it, but they don't see what everyone else is writing. So it's safe.
So Sadie, I would say if I was taking Rachel, let me hear if I'm getting you right. If I was doing junior high school with this one, I might say, I would leave a blank for the first sentence and say, I went to blank, right? So then I'll write the full sentence though. Yesterday I went to the park, right? But I'll leave those two blanks, say, where did you go? And then they could write a time in the past and a place. Cool? Or
yeah. So I would always, with a grammar, I would always have a perfect example already there. This is the model. This is what our sentence should look like.
Okay.
Now here's my example. Here's what I can do. And I have a word missing, and I can put that word where it belongs.
Oh, okay.
Now, what can we do? Can you help Sensei put the word there and kind of get there, ask the class.
Okay, so
and then praise the class, and then say, okay, great. And then ask them, be honest with them. Boys and girls, do we need another example? Should we do this together again one more time? And they'll let you know. Look at their faces. Some of them are clueless. Some of them are like, yeah, I got this. And if half the class is clueless, or even if 2 or 3 of them are clueless, say, let's do one more and do another one together. We can do another one. And then say, okay, now let me see what you can do. And it's an informal assessment. It lets you know, where are they? What are they doing? What are they thinking? Where are they stuck if they are stuck?
So first you do it as a group, and then you say, okay, you do it.
Yeah, always.
Okay, I see.
I, we, you.
Oh, okay, I like that. Okay, that's simple. I, we, you is kind of an easy way to put it.
Yeah.
I can do this. We can do this. You can do this. What can you do at the end?
Yep.
All right, so let's get to the point. Now, it's not the final point, but kind of a final point. The less you go to class, obviously, the less you can do these kind of things. So if you go to school once a month, you really don't have time to put in all the strategies Rachel explained here today, right? You can't really, okay, today you don't have numbers, and then we're going to do this routine, then we're going to do this routine. You can't do that. But what you can do is start small again and stick with one thing each class. Like today, we're going to do the same intro game, and we're going to do the same questions, and then we're going to go.
Yep.
Like you can't change the world if you'd only go there once a month. If you go there, twice a week or something, then that's the more aggressively you can go about changing things, right? I would say the more chances you have in front of the students, the more you can do stuff.
With the class that I only go to once a month, I would really try to focus on the I, we, you.
Okay, yeah. I see what you mean there. Yeah.
Yeah, the warm up. All right, what are we learning? Let's learn it. Okay, now let's apply it, and make sure that activity is something that you use like the same activity to do
the whole time. Yeah. So what you taught is the same thing they do in the game or activity. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It should all be cohesive. It should all be relevant.
That's the good point for ALT across everything. And I've seen it happens a lot when I observe. When you teach in grammar, you want your last game to be using the exact same way, unless they're high level, of course. Unless if this is a review, it's a whole different ballgame. But if it's the first time you show a grammar point, you want your last thing to be that grammar point, not like that plus. Because if you do that plus, it's over.
Right, it's too much. That falls apart.
Yeah, so just if you can add it later, if it's a review, then yeah, that's cool. But be careful about that. So conclusion, finally, epic conclusion. We've been going on long here. If you have a good classroom environment, it's fun for everybody. Students, JT, not most importantly, but pretty importantly, you. ALTinsider.com is about you having fun, which means your students have fun, right? And if you have fun, your JT's having fun. And if your JT's having fun, she's telling your company that she's having fun, and that means you're doing a good job, you're being a good ALT. So that's kind of the most important thing. If you have a bad class environment, if you make it better, it's more fun for everybody. which is all good things. Now, if you don't have a good classroom environment right now, Rachel gave us a lot of good things to kind of work towards it. But here's a little quick checklist of things to do if you don't have a good situation, you want to make it better. 1, double check that your games are fun. For me, this is the most important thing. Go online. LTinsider.com has a lot of fun games. Inglopedia has a lot of fun games. Fun games are all over the place. And even though the first time you might not know if it's fun or not, it takes one time to figure out if the game's fun for me. If you try it and it doesn't work, it's gone out of your life forever. If it's good, put it in a folder, use it again. Magic folder. I've said it before. Magic folder is a good tool to use as an LT. If it's a good game, goes in the folder. If it's a bad game, throw it out. The more you be an LT, the better your games get. The better your magic folder, your base set of games are. The longer you go, the better. Go ahead, Rachel.
Your pockets of flair.
Yeah, exactly.
The more flair in your pockets,
Number 2 is set routines. Start simple here. The same intro game every time, the same questions, the same flow to your classes. Set the routine, live the dream. That was, I'll say goodnight on that one. But okay, number 3, improve your relationships with your students. You want to show that we're in this together, right? So you want to be friendly. Even if there are D-bags, it seems like they're D-bags. There's a reason they're being a D-bag. Just share something with you about them. Hey, I like soccer. You like soccer? I like soccer too. Cool. And of course, it doesn't work all the time, okay? But it's worth the effort to try it. Number 4, simplify everything. If a class loses it easier, that means the simpler it has to be. When I say lose it, I mean when their minds go elsewhere from English, the simpler the activity has to be, the simpler the grammar has to be. And don't think just because your JT says, I want to cover this, this, and this. You don't have to cover all that stuff. You have to if you cover these 4 points that they're going to lose it by the second one, just cover 2,
Right.
I couldn't get to these 2. It's no big deal, And
Next time.
Your teacher will understand too. And finally, goes in with that one too. If your teacher is there with you, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to work together to try to make the relationship better and to try to make the classroom environment better.
Yeah.
So don't give up just because you tried everything, it didn't work. Well, it might not work for you, but if you bring the teacher into it, it might work a little differently. So.
And it models to your students that you are cooperative, that you're working with the team, and that you are in this with them.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, oh man, boys and girls, we're struggling. Like, you don't have to tell them that, but they know it. They know you're struggling. So if you're like, hey, sensei, what do you like? Help me steer the ship back on course.
Yeah, bring him into it. And it's never be a bad thing to ask him if like the class kind of losing it, but you still got to do this kind of presentation, whatever. Slam a question at him like, hey, what's the day today? And just ask him instead of enough. And that just gets everyone's attention back to the class, like, whoa, he asked the teacher? That's kind of weird,
Yeah, it's not, and it should never be us and them. It should be we.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Even though it feels like that, I know in a lot of schools out there, it really does feel like that. But you can always make it better. So let's go. So next, I need to get a drink. Drink some tea there. Baby has been quiet this whole time. That's a dream, right? Okay, so Rachel, before everyone gets out of here, let's show them one game that they can play. You want it to be, Rachel, I'll let you choose. You hold the power of everyone's hand. You hold the key to the power here.
Oh, nice.
You want it to be a PowerPoint review game question or one of the 10 anywhere, any topic games.
I really don't like PowerPoint review questions. I just don't
like it. Okay, so it looks like we're getting one of the 10. We're getting the 10 games here. I will let you choose the number as long as you choose number 4. You can choose whatever number you want.
I have to choose number 4?
No, you can choose whatever number you want.
Oh, okay. How about I really like number 6.
Number 6. That means if you look inside the junior high school survival kits, right here, anytime, anywhere games. Number 6 is letter look. So if we look in here, we have a sweet write-up. So this is how to do the game.
Okay.
We don't need to look at that now because I'm going to go through that right here.
Okay.
Let's look at, this is not a good one because the explanation is everything. So this game this is good for junior high school game. And see, this worksheet is obviously just all the letters. This is easy to make yourself.
I can't see it.
Oh yeah. Let me share the screen. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't share the screen. Of course, I failed again.
Well, I see your file window.
Yeah, the file window, but I went to a different window. And it's like, hey, I hope you guys can still see this. There's no way you still saw that. So the kind of the money in this one is the actual lesson write-up. So I'm going to bring that up too if I can. Share my full screen here. If you see any passwords or pictures or anywhere, just ignore them. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. Here. 1 second. Bring up the write-up.
Can you open the two files and set them side by side next to each other?
Working on it. We're getting the engineer on this. Engineer, you on this? No answer. I gotta go on it alone.
You need to fire him.
Okay, so here, I'll just show this. This one's fine. I can go through it. Okay, so this is a good little, obviously you can make this worksheet without my worksheet, but this is kind of a prettier version. Can you see that now? I hope you can.
Yeah.
This is called Let It Look. So this is a good game as an intro game after your Yokotate, of course, because you always should be doing that. But for junior high school, I use this for all levels. But first I give them this worksheet and say, of course, I don't explain the game at all. I never explain a game. I just write A, B, C, D, E on the board to start it. You know, I don't write all the letters. It's too much time. So once those are on the board, I pretend you're really thinking here. You want to be, I'm really thinking about it. And then I'll write Apple, the letter, you know, Apple, A-P-P-L-E. And then I'll really be thinking, I can't think of anything else, right? So then I'll start walking around the classroom and I look, I need a B, I need a B. Okay, oh, I found a book. Now, some students might not be able to write book, how to spell it, right? So I'll just draw a picture of a book there. I know it starts with B, so I just write a picture of a book. That's fine. Now, next C. Now, I'm going to start looking around the classroom. I can't find a C. You know, really, I'm bewildered here. I can't find a C. Once you find, then I open the textbook and I go to the back and find a C word, and I write it in there. So you have 3 levels here. First is from your mind. Second is from the classroom. And third is from your book.
Okay. So
what I'll do is 5 minutes from your mind, 3 minutes from around the classroom, and then 1 minute from the book. And of course, you have a big timer up on the wall here. I hope the timer going, because this game gets really frantic. Because you know, if you 1 minute left, they're scrambling through the book to get like X, Y, and Z. It becomes really good. It's a really good short 10-minute, 15-minute thing just to get the vocab going, get the mind going. Of course, you can't use it as a main activity, but it's just a perfect game if your junior high school teacher says, "Hey, I need a 15-minute thing. What can I do?" Boom, this is what you can throw at them.
Cool.
So let's go back to my, I need to hire way more people to do this. Let's go back to the last thing. And okay, first I want to say thanks to Rachel. Epic job there. You shared a lot of good knowledge bombs with us. Your classroom looks pretty cool. I think a lot of us wish we could have that good of a classroom environment, but we could only dream of getting that far. But we can all take little thick pieces of it, I think. So yeah, that was really good.
You can also, you know, I've asked my my visit school, hey, is there an extra classroom around that, you know, on the days that I'm teaching, that maybe we can all leave our classroom and enter this new environment?
Mm-hmm.
And that she said, yeah, there is, but she's got to get approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions, I'm going to let it linger there for a while because I know the lag is epic here. We will answer any questions you have until there are no more questions or Rachel falls asleep, whichever one happens first.
Ooh.
Rachel usually wakes up at what time did you say you wake up?
I get up at 4:30.
Woo! Nice.
I alternate. Sometimes I go hiking on the little mountain in my backyard. I love that. It's amazing.
So in the you're definitely a morning person then.
Or I practice yoga. Depends on the weather.
I'm more the kind of used to wake up at 8 o'clock and then
shower
for 30 seconds, get there at 8:30.
Yeah, so like the first hour of your morning determines how the rest of your day is going to go.
I always read stuff like that, like self-help things. Like if you start the morning with you're controlled, and your whole rest of your day is controlled. I wish I could do it, but
you can take control.
I can't. Stay up too late.
You got a baby though, and that baby's going to change everything.
Well, at least now I'm just doing translation, so I can kind of make my schedule. But when I was in ALT, man, that would have been tough. I don't know how people do it.
My neighbor is an ALT, and he just had a baby. AG's probably 6 months now.
Oh, now it's just like every 3 hours is food time, you know. So
yeah.
All right, guys, I'm gonna give you another good show today. ALT is awesome. Thank you, Mr. ALT is awesome. I wonder if your name is sarcastic still. Is it real or sarcastic? Just say the truth, you know. ALT is awesome. What does that mean? So cool though. Love you, bro. I'm assuming you're bro. Another minute before we let Rachel get to sleep so she can wake up at 4:30. Wish I could play music on this thing. That'd be really cool.
Oh, that would be cool.
Some cool chill. I checked it out, but couldn't find it.
You can't play it from like your screen and share
If I
it?
play it, you don't hear it. If I play it, it doesn't show up on your sound. Yeah.
Ah, I see.
Joy-san coming in with the if you have a separate question, it's a good way to reset the kids. That's definitely true.
If you what?
If you go to a different classroom, kind of resets the kids' thinking, and that's definitely true.
Yeah.
They just change the environment, right? So like,
I mean, think about when you were in elementary school back home, and it was compulsory that you were learning a second language. A lot of the time, some of the time the teacher came into your classroom, but sometimes we would go to a different classroom.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's like Adventure Time, you know.
Yeah, it's like, oh, the foreigner's here. What are we learning?
Rachel, question from Sadie here. Do you have any you have students who don't write anything? What do you do when they don't write anything? They want to write. They say pencil.
So sometimes the worksheet that maybe I'm asking them to write on looks really daunting, and I carry a highlighter, and so back to that I can, we can, you can thing.
Mhm.
I'll simplify it. I'll be like, so I'll now ask the question, or maybe I'll use my finger and I'll read, and I'll say, can you read this with me? And we'll read it together. And then I'll say, okay, so here's the directions. I give them the directions and say, let's just try this one question.
Okay.
And once we do it together, I say, okay, now let's see what you can do. How about you try this one question? And I'll stay with them and help them along the way. I don't want them, I'm holding your hand while you're treading water right here, buddy. And then you do it successfully, or maybe you don't, and I say, okay, and I'll kind of give them some clues, and I'll show them what they're looking for, and usually, maybe they can't read they don't understand like the heading of the worksheet or something. I don't know, whatever it is, you figure it out with them. But then you say, okay, instead of doing this whole worksheet, I just want you to do these 2 or 3 questions. I'm going to walk away, but I'm going to come back in 4 minutes. So they know that you're coming back to check on them. So they know that they can't, I can't sit here and do nothing. She's going to come back and look.
Yeah.
And you minimize it. You gave them just 2 or 3 or 4.
So here's a question, Rachel. Sorry, I said
That's fine.
Is there ever a time when you give up? You say, okay, he's not writing. That's fine. I know I do. I know there's a point like that for me. What is the one student, he's never going to write anything. I tried to do that. I did that step of, hey, come on, let's write together. And he doesn't do it. Is there a time when you give up? Yes or no? Be honest. Come on.
Yes.
Okay. Thank God.
Yes. I mean, absolutely.
There's sometimes, Sadie, where you just gotta, it's done,
I can't keep giving you everything when you're not willing to take it. That's fine.
Yeah. If it takes away from the rest of the class, if you just gotta sit with this one student for 20 minutes, come on, that's not fair to the other people,
I had a conversation with someone recently. I don't know where it came from, but something about you should change your activities every 8 minutes.
I couldn't say I don't change every 8 minutes, but I change at least every 10 minutes.
Yes, definitely, because yeah.
I think if you don't, you got to do right unless you have like the most epic game ever, then you can go maybe a little bit longer. But the 10 minutes is kind of the good guideline to stick to.
10 minutes is a long time when you're like on the stage.
Yeah. Well, if you set up a good like board game or something, that can go a little.
They're really into it. And like, no, I want to keep going.
Yeah. So I remember I always say let it roll. If it's really teaching good and everything fun, I let it roll.
Yeah.
You got to be careful with that. So Jay Cowboy saying thanks again to you, Rachel.
Oh, thank you.
I think we're going to call it a night. If you have any questions, remember you can email Rachel or myself. I'm at james@ltinsider.com. I should have wrote Rachel's email there, but I think I can now. /RL, right?
Yes, at gmail.com.
She is waiting to help you. I also waiting to help you. If you haven't, check out the podcast. The podcast is waiting for you. This week's episode is being recorded tomorrow. Usually I have them recorded way in advance, but the baby kind of put a wrinkle in those plans. Let's see. Boom. How many classes do you plan a week, Sadie?
Ooh,
Sadie
I plan.
Go ahead.
I definitely plan 8 a week, and then if my visit schools, sometimes I plan, sometimes I don't. They kind of let me know ahead of time if I'm going to plan or not.
Oh, some people are getting angry. 8 classes a week. She's lucky, right?
Well, I plan 8, but yeah, I teach 16 or
Yeah, if you have 6 classes a day, of course, it's a little bit different, right? So just work your way up, small steps, right? Even if you have 6 classes a day, I know you can do a routine at the beginning of the class, every class. That's no big deal.
yeah.
I think you have to do it because I know what 6 classes like. I definitely know what 6 classes like, and the routine is like helps you survive when you have to do 6 classes. So
I mean, in my lesson plans, I try to just do 3 things. I do my opening, my target, and then my application.
yeah, okay, that's the way to go.
Apply. What did we learn? Okay, let's apply it.
Stick to a routine, guys. So Michelle, thanks for checking out. Everybody that came, thanks so much. I'll see you on the website tomorrow. The post tomorrow is about competitiveness in the classroom. It goes live at 8:30. Rachel, how much competitiveness do you use in your classrooms? A lot? A little?
I don't know. It depends on the class. Some classes are really competitive, and I use that for them, and some are not. And
yeah, I always say, like, in the magic ages of 5th, 6th, and junior high school, 5th, 6th, junior high school first, junior high school second, you can do a good amount, and they're adult enough to handle it. But if you go above that, they kind of start not caring. If you go under that, they can't handle it, and it gets to like fighting and crying. So check for that tomorrow, 8:30. That's all for me. Rachel, last words. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed that, and I am here to help if you have any questions.
See you next time. We get to stop presenting. Got to get my face for the last epic ending. See you next time, guys. Thanks. Remember, always have more fun, right? See you next time. Bye.